G'day viewers, Jeff from McPhee's Gardening, Melbourne, Australia. How often do you hear when someone puts a photo on multimedia or on Facebook? It's a photo of a hedge from a contractor and he's asking for advice and he says, what would you charge to do this? Well, you're going to get hundreds of replies. 500, 300, 800, 1,000. I wouldn't get out of bed for 2,500. It's amazing the price difference what everyone charges by looking at a photo. I don't know how people can quote from photos, but you know, they do, and the advice that's given for newcomers, don't listen to them because you're going to get into trouble. What is said and what is done are two different things in a lot of cases. Gardening contractors can exaggerate a bit at times, so you really need to find out the truth. So what I want to do today is work out how I work out a price for my quotations for mowing and gardening. The biggest thing, as I've said in previous videos, is know your numbers. I've done a video on how to work out an hourly rate, and you might like to have a look at that. I've got a link up there to have a look if you haven't seen it before. But as we know, if we don't know our numbers, it's very hard to run a successful business. You see, you've got to remember we've been pushing this for years and years and years for contractors. We're not working for a customer on an hourly rate. We're providing a service to the customer as a business. So we have an hourly rate which we use to work out a price for them to know what it's going to cost. So when you're starting out, your hourly rate and an experienced operator's hourly rate are going to be miles apart, obviously. Because if you start charging as a newcomer the same price hourly rate as a experienced guy, you're not going to win a quote at all, because the experienced guy is going to do it so much quicker than you are because he's done so many of them and you haven't. And therefore, you have to think about your hourly rate when you first start out. It might not be as much. You might spend a bit more time, but whilst you're doing that, you're learning. And whilst you're learning, you're recording and how much it takes to do a particular job and how much you've charged. And having that information, and that's what we all do. I can rock up to a quote, I can look at a hedge and I can say X amount of dollars and I'll be spot on with the time because I've done so many, as a lot of other experienced contractors have. So in this video, I want to break it down into two aspects. One is the mow and blow guys, and two, the gardening. So when we're providing a quote, we're going to have a look at both aspects. Now first, the mow and blow guy, you're going to rock up to the place and you're going to be dictated a lot by what the market is charging. Obviously, if you're charging $80 and everybody else is charging $40, well, you're not going to get that particular lawn. So either you drop your prices down to $40 or you chase an area that commands a higher price, that you know you can get a higher price. And that takes time to get around. But when you're starting out, you just want to get as much work as you can and you just want to get in there and do it. So when it comes to the lawn mowing price, you've looked at the market and everyone's charging $60, for example. So you work out, okay, I can handle that. My hourly rate to do things, I can do it in this particular one. It's going to take me 40 minutes. An experienced guy probably do it in 20 minutes because he's done it so many times before. But irregardless, is that you've worked out your price, you're happy with that, and away you go. Now, the more lawns you get that are close together, the higher your hourly rate will be, of course. And if you have one here and then you've taken your 20, 30, 40 minutes and then you've talked to the customer and you've packed up and then you've driven to the next job, which might be another 10 minutes away, and then you unpack and you've taken another 40 minutes, well, that hourly rate really starts dropping substantially. So that's why, and I think I've mentioned on previous videos, is to be efficient when you mow. So when you get there, you have a system. When you have that system, you can knock those lawns down as quick as, you know, anything. With new lawns that a customer rings up for that haven't been done before, they haven't used a contractor, or maybe they have and they've let the lawns go, you've gone to the joint and you've worked out that, okay, the average price of my lawns in this particular area is $60. Now, might be 25 quid in the UK, but that's okay. So we looked at the price and we say to the customer, it's going to cost you $60 and it's going to be 26 cuts a year, depending on where you are in the world. You know, you might not be able to work during the winter time, etc. But anyway, you know how many cuts per year that customer's going to get. In our case in Australia, in Melbourne, a lot of the times we can get the 26 cuts. A lot of people might do 21 cuts. Anyway, so if it's overgrown, you're not going to obviously charge $60 because you're going to lose straight away. Yes, it's good to get the job, but at the same time, you're still got to make some money. So I've got a little general rule of 3 times the cut when I do a lawn. So if I haven't done the lawn before, it's going to need the edges, it's going to need overgrown grass, there's going to be a tip fee involved. I'll say to the customer, it's going to cost you $60, but the first time it's going to cost you $180 because I've got to do these extras. Now some guys will just do the slash and drop or mulch, and that's good. You know, some do that. What I like to do is I like to leave that lawn really good because the next time I come back, there's hardly any work to do. I've taken all the grass away, I've done all the edges, I've done a spectacular job, but I've charged 3 times as much. Now, it could be more because you might find it might be longer and therefore it's going to take you, a little bit longer than that 3 times the cut, or you equate that. Or it might be that you've taken over from a previous contractor who wasn't really that good, and it might be just the $60 because all the edges are done, there's not a lot of long grass, it's just a matter of tidying it up and away you go. So just food for thought on the lawn mowing, gardening. Now again, we must know our numbers, we must know our hourly rate so that we can use that to price up our jobs. What the most important thing is to break down the quote. So for example, if we're doing hedging, we're going to break it down to the trimming of the hedge, the cleaning up, and then going to the tip. So the first is the trimming. Do we need a ladder? Are we doing a hedge reduction? Is it hard to get to the other side? Do we have to go through the neighbours? Is our laneway access? Can we get a ladder in there? Is the ground stable? What type of plant it is? Is it hard pruning? Is it soft, etc. Now, as a newcomer, don't be scared because we're going to get through all these over the years. We're going to practice, we're going to learn as we go along. We're going to make mistakes, we all have done it. So my procedure is to work out how long it's going to take me just purely to do the trimming aspect. Then once I've worked that out, I'll look at the cleaning up. Now cleaning up can vary. It can mean just blowing it all underneath the existing hedge, which breaks down as mulch, that's fine. It could be just picking it up through the lawnmower, that you run it over and mulch it all up. Or a lot of the times with a lot of my high-end customers where it's all decorative stone, we have to blow all that out and then pick all that up. We might use tarps, blow it all out, but sometimes it can take just as long to clean up as it is to actually do the hedge itself. And of course the last one is the tip feed. Like you might find you might have a trailer load or a ute load or many bags in the van to pick up and then take to the tip. The time taken to get there to unload and then all work out. So your quote's based on those 3 points, and at the end you're going to put your profit margin on top of that. Might be 10, 20, 30%, whatever your profit margin is. And then on top of that, if you've been around a while and you're registered for goods and services tax in Australia, you're going to have to add that on again. So that's how you come up with a final figure. Now, when you're starting out, you're going to find you haven't done hedges much. So what I suggest is get out and practice with your family, friends. Give them free hedge cutting. Go out and do as much as you can and work out how long it takes you. So when you're actually doing hedges for customers, every hedge, work out, measure how long it is, how high it is, what was involved, the time taken and what you charged. And just write that down in a book or put it in your iPhone or just record that information. Because as time goes on, you'll be looking back and going, gee, that was too cheap, I should have charged more. So you'll gain experience. Now, a lot of us experienced guys, we can look at a hedge and we can go, it'll going to cost you that much because we've done so many of them, it's so easy. But when you're starting it out, break it down and then just put it into sections and then away you go. And a tip for long hedges where it might be You know, we've done hedges hundreds and hundreds of metres long. The worst thing is to go and hedge it all, and this is if you're on your own, of course. If you've got a helper, that's easy, isn't it? Because you've got someone doing all the hard work cleaning up, and all you're doing is just hedging. But if you're hedging on your own, and it's very tiresome, and you look back and you've got all that cleaning up to do, what I tend to do is break it up into sections. So I'll do the first section, prune it, hedge it, have it all looking nice, clean it all up, then move on to the next one. And I've found that that's made it, breaks that down so much easier, and it's not as tiresome on your body, because up and down on the ladder, pruning, holding the pole hedger over the top, gets tiring, and at my age, trust me, it gets tiring for sure. The other one is mulching. When you do a quote for mulching, again, break it down. When you look at the garden bed, does it need cleaning out of the weeds? Does it need all the leaves raking up? Has it got sprinkler systems? You've got to make sure that they're all located properly. You're not going to bury those, or you're not going to knock them over. So once you've worked the time to do that, you've got to look at putting the mulch in. So are you going to get it delivered? So there's delivery cost. And then there's time waiting for it to be delivered, or you're going to get it yourself. I find it easy to take my trailer, go to the yard, and then I'll rock up on site, and I can actually, you know, most of the times get it close to where I want to unload it and do the mulching. It's the best way I find, and I don't have to rely on the yard saying, oh look, sorry mate, we can't get to you till tomorrow. So at least I go to the yard, I've got it, and away I go. Of course, I've got to take my time to go and get the mulch, and then also the cost of the mulch. And, you know, am I going to use a wheelbarrow, or is there, you know, like some people say, look, 1 hour, 1 cubic metre, 20 square metres per equals 1 cubic metre, 3 inches deep, all these little formulas, and you'll work those out as you go along. You might want to use a little motorised front end loader, a little small one if you've got large areas to do. Or if you've got lots of plants, you're going to have to use tubs to drop it around the base of all the plants, and that takes a lot more time as well. And of course the cleaning up. So all aspects of quoting, break it down into stages, and you'll find it simple. But you've got to record. If you record, you'll find when you look back, it makes it so much easier, and then you become consistent. Because you might do Uncle Bob's down the road, and then Auntie Jane at the other end of the street might you want to do the same job, and then if you can't remember what you charged Uncle Bob, and then, you know, Auntie Jane's going to say, gee, you know, that's a bit much. You've got to provide the consistency, of course. So don't get disheartened when you're starting out about the hourly rate. But make sure you cover your basic costs. You know, and a newcomer's hourly rate, like you're not working for someone that you used to work for. Make sure you charge that hourly rate as a business. It might be less than the experienced guy. Make sure you cover your costs. Make sure you give yourself a wage and use that. All right, it might take you a bit longer. Therefore, you might not win as many quotes if you're charging a higher hourly rate, because, you know, the experienced guy's going to do it quicker. But just keep that in the back of your mind. Alrighty, so that's your lot for today, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and we'll get some more videos going on some other subjects. If there's anything that you want me to cover, let me know, and I'll have a think about that, and I can come up with something. I'm trying to work out little things that help people, and also you know, it's difficult to come up with things from time to time, but just let me know. Give me some comments, see what you think. Like, you might have other ideas about quoting. Love to hear them. Okay, we'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.